Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Jessica and I will be guiding you through a 20-minute beginner Vinyasa flow. Today's practice is perfect if you consider yourself a beginner or if you have never done yoga before. We will be beginning right here in a comfortable seat, and no props are required, but if you have some yoga blocks, I would have them close by just in case they're handy to use. So when you're ready, bring yourself to a comfortable cross-legged seat, and you can either have your legs crossed like mine here, or you can have one shin in front of the other. Go ahead and soften or close down your eyes. And start to bring some awareness to your breath. Just noticing it, no need to make any changes. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice where it travels. Notice if you're breathing with your nose or your mouth. Sit up nice and tall. Reach the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Roll your shoulders back and down and away from your ears. Now focus the attention to breathing in and out through your nose, making your inhales and your exhales just as long as each other. Let the breath travel down through your lungs, into your belly, into your back, and into your sides. On your next inhale, reach your arms up overhead. Option to open up your eyes. Side bend over to the left. Reach your left hand beside you. Reach your right arm up and over, creating space in the right side of your body. It's okay to let your left arm bend, and it doesn't have to come all the way down to the floor. Inhale, reach both arms back up to the sky. Maybe you gaze up. Exhale, reach your right arm out towards the side. Side bend to the to the right. Breathe into the side of your body. Maybe gaze underneath your armpit. Inhale, reach back up to center. Place your right hand to your left knee. Place your left hand behind you. Inhale, lift up nice and tall, lengthen through the side of your body. And exhale, twist over to the left. Maybe if it feels okay in your neck, gazing over your left shoulder. Your inhale creates more space in your torso, and your exhale lets you twist deeper. Take another breath in, and exhale, release back to center. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, left hand to right knee, right hand behind you. Take an inhale to create space and lift up. And exhale, twist over, maybe gazing over your right shoulder, only if it's okay for your neck. Take an inhale to lengthen through the sides of your waist, and exhale to deepen the twist. Take one more inhale, and exhale, come back to center. Lift up nice and tall. Walk your hands forward any amount until you start to feel a stretch in the outside of your right hip or left hip, depending on which leg you have forward. Exhale, walk your hands back in. Switch the cross of your legs so that you're now sitting the more unusual way. Sit up nice and tall. Lower your right ear to right shoulder. Take a breath here. Lower your head and your chin towards your chest. Start to roll out your neck, bringing your Left ear to left shoulder. Roll forward for these half circles. Move slowly here. Pause anywhere where you feel tightness or stiffness in your neck. Let the breath guide you. Draw your head back up to center. Lengthen through your spine. Walk your hands forward, fold. You don't need to come down very far here. If you do, that is perfectly okay. And if you don't, that's also okay. Just go to where you feel the stretch. Exhale, walk your hands back into the center. And then cross over your legs, meeting in a tabletop position. So your shoulders are stacked over your wrists, your knees are underneath your hips, and we'll find cat-cow. So for cow, drop your belly, lift your gaze, create an arch in your spine. Exhale, press the floor away, curl your spine, gaze towards the back of the mat. Inhale, cow. Lift the tailbone and the gaze. Exhale, cat. Round your spine. Once more, inhale and exhale. Now find somewhere in the middle so that you have a neutral spine. So somewhere in between your cow and in between your cat. Draw your navel in towards your chest. Keep your elbows nice and straight, and with a neutral spine that we just found, drop your chest down in between your shoulders. This is called retraction. So you're letting your chest come down to the mat and your shoulder blades are squeezing together. Now press the floor away, broaden your shoulders, create space in your back. This is called protraction. We'll do this a few more times. Retract on your inhale. Let your chest lower. And exhale, protract your shoulders. Once more, inhale. And exhale. So you don't have to come into a complete protraction here, but you do want that slight motion leaning more towards that area. Now, firm up your belly. And then extend your right leg out behind you. Lift up your heel towards the sky. Rotate your inner thigh towards the ceiling so that your hips stay parallel. And then stay here, or also extend your left arm forward, bicep towards your ears. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw your elbow towards your knee, or just your knee in towards your chest, round your spine. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, lengthen and extend. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, lengthen and extend, and then lower your right or left hand to the mat and right toes to the mat. Rotate your foot so your foot of your mat is planted, and then you may pivot on your left knee so that you create a kickstand with your leg. Reach your right arm up towards your ear for a side bend. Keep pressing into your foot. Reach long through your fingertips. Take a breath in and exhale, come back to center in your tabletop position. Firm up the belly. Then extend your left leg out behind you. Reach your right or left heel up towards the sky. Rotate your inner thighs inwards towards the ceiling. And then maybe also extend your right hand forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw your knee towards your elbow. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw everything in. Inhale, lengthen and extend. Exhale, curl and round it in. And inhale, lengthen. Lower your right hand back down and your left toes to the mat. Plant your left foot down, kickstand your right leg, and reach your left arm up towards the front of the mat, bicep to ear. Take a breath in this side stretch, and exhale, come back to tabletop. Widen your knees, bring your big toes together, and sit your hips towards your heels. Walk your hands forward, and either rest your forehead to the mat or bring your hands to a pillow to rest your forehead down. Your hips may not come all the way down towards your heels, and that is perfectly okay. Lift back up into a tabletop, tuck your toes, and resit your hips back down towards your heels for this tucked-toed child's pose. Draw yourself forward. Lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Keep a generous bend in your knees. Hands shoulder width distance apart, feet hips width distance apart. Your heels don't need to be touching the ground. Reach your tailbone high towards the sky and press your chest towards your thighs. Gaze forward, ripple forward into plank, top of a push-up. Protract your shoulders, press into your hands. Lower your knees down to the mat. Sit your hips back, tuck-toed child's pose. Draw yourself forward. Lift your knees off of the mat, plank pose. Lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Once more, roll forward to the top of a push-up, plank pose. Lower your knees down to the mat. Sit your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. Gaze forward, roll forward, top of a push-up, and exhale, plank pose. So that is one variation of a Vinyasa flow. Anytime you hear Vinyasa in a class, that is a perfect option to take. Instead of doing Chaturanga, up dog to down dog, you can always come to plank, child's pose, back to downward facing dog. Bring your knees down to the mat. Extend your right leg up towards the ceiling, and then step your right foot forward to between your hands at the top of your mat. You may need to lift your right hand to be able to step your foot forward. Tuck your toes, lift your back knee up off the mat, and come to your fingertips. Squeeze your legs together, strengthening into your legs. Make your fingertips nice and light on the mat so you're using leg strength to help lift yourself up here. And step towards the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Bring your hands to your shins or to your thighs. Press your hands into your legs. Reach your hips back towards the back wall and your top of your head towards the top wall, like you're making an imprint on the wall. Take an inhale here. Exhale, hands to hips. Stand up, mountain pose. Release your arms beside you. Weight into your heels. Pick up your toes, spread them apart, and then replant them back down to the mat. Isometrically press your feet away from each other. Notice how this makes your legs feel. Notice the engagement in your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, bend at the hips, fold over. And it's okay to have a generous bend in your knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands to the mat. Step your left foot towards the back of the mat. Step your right foot back, downward facing dog. Roll forward into plank pose. Lower your knees down to the mat. Child's pose with tucked toes. Inhale, come back into your plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lower your knees to the mat for tabletop. Extend your left leg out behind you And then draw your right or left toes in between your palms at the top of your mat. It's okay to lift your left hand to replace your foot there. Tuck your back toes, lift your knee off the mat. Make your fingertips nice and light by squeezing your legs together, engaging and pressing through your feet. Then step your right foot to meet your left, forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Lengthen your hips back and your head forward. Create space in your spine. Hands towards your hips on your exhale. Inhale, lift up, mountain pose. Take a breath here, reset. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands. Step your right foot towards the back of the mat. And then step your left foot back, downward facing dog. Take an inhale here. Exhale, roll forward into plank. Then lower your knees down. Sit your hips back, child's pose. Untuck your toes. Widen your knees as far apart as you would like. Walk your hands forward. Rest your head down. Let's take 3 breaths here. Start to lift yourself back up. Walk your hands back in and sit your hips over to either side. Swing your legs out in front of you, meeting in staff pose. Legs extended. Keep a slight bend in your knees so that they're not locked out. Press into your heels, feet about hips width distance apart, and then press your hands into the mat beside your hips. If your hands don't quite reach the mat, you can grab a hold of some blocks or some books and place them underneath to raise the ground up to you. Press into the mat, lengthen each vertebrae of your spine, reach the crown of your head up high. Staff pose. From here, keep the length in your spine. Start to lean forward and then start to crawl your fingertips forward, keeping this light, nice long spine that we created. Breathe here. If you can reach your toes or the sides of your feet, you can grab on there, or you can hold on to your legs, or simply keep your hands to the mat. Walk yourself back in. Shift your hips forward slightly and then bring your hands out in front of you and slowly start to roll yourself down so you come all the way down to a lying position on your back. When you arrive, bend your knees, plant the soles of your feet to the mat, shift your hips over to the right. Bring your arms out into a T and let your knees fall over to the left. Supine spinal twist. You can bring your left hand to the top of your right knee. Encourage your right shoulder to stay planted to the mat so that your shoulder and chest are facing up. Option to gaze over towards your right fingertips. Use a little bit of core strength to draw your knees back up into center. Bring your arms back into a T. Lift your hips, shift them over to the left, and let your knees lower to the right. Supine twist. Option to gaze up ahead or over to your left fingertips. If your knees don't come all the way down to the ground, that's okay. You can plant a block underneath your knees to give them a little bit of lift. Draw your knees back in towards center. Straighten out your hips if you need to, and extend your legs towards the bottom of your mat. Extend your arms out beside you. Shavasana, your final resting pose. This pose is for integration, to allow the practice that we just did to settle into our bodies, to give us a moment of rest and reflection. Close down or soften the gaze. Come back to your breath, and I will guide you out in a minute. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Reach your arms up overhead for a big good morning stretch. And then roll over onto either side. Come to a fetal position, resting your head in your arms. Take a pause here. And when you're ready, use your hands to push yourself back up into a comfortable seat. Sitting in any way that feels good for you. Draw your hands together towards heart center. We'll close with a releasing breath. So we'll take a deep breath in through the nose, then sigh out the mouth. Inhale deeply. Exhale, sigh. Bow forward. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for today's beginner vinyasa flow. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, comment on what you thought, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you. Bye.